Hiking from my house to San Juan Lookout. Today, hiking up my mountain to test out my 360 camera. And this would just be my cell phone with this, but we'll see how the other video looks. Now, and most of the rest of this video will be with my 360 camera. Right now I'm looking back in the sun, so the color's not that great, so let's switch the perspective. Not sure if it looks quite as good as my cell phone or not, but there's so many things you can do with this that you can't do with the cell phone. I'll also mention that I'm using my invisible selfie stick. So none of these are with a drone or taken by anyone other than me. The 360 camera connects to my cell phone by Bluetooth, so all these videos are still just edited on my phone for upload to YouTube. You can get some interesting perspectives, and like I say, those photos are by me. No drone, no one following me taking a picture. Just kind of cool. We'll test and see what all you can do, from zooming in, zooming out. Just a lot of different effects. Just trying out my camera, basically for the first time. First time on a hiking video. Well, you watch me test out my 360 camera. I'll tell you about an interesting experience I had last week. I was out at the Arizona Biltmore, thought it'd be a cool place to take some interesting photos, and hiking around the grounds. And as I walked by one of the conference centers, they were on break, and I thought, well, I'm kind of thirsty, maybe I'll step in and get a free soda. One of the hazards of being cheap. So I walked in the door, and some lady goes, "Oh, you need a name tag. There's over there on the table." So there were about a half dozen name tags that people had never picked up. And I saw one, and it had the same first name as me, so I picked it up. I no sooner had put my name tag on than this good-looking lady walked up to me and goes, "Jerry, I'm so glad you're here. I was hoping you'd be here. I was afraid you weren't coming." She then proceeded to invite me down to sit next to her up front. And I'm thinking, oh, gee, how can I say no to a beautiful woman? So down I went, and it turns out the conference was kind of a social media influencer conference. And I sat there and listened to one of the talks. And then the lady gets up and introduces the next speaker. And what would you know, but it was me. The name tag I had snagged was a speaker that no-showed, and now she thought I was them. Panic immediately set in. I'm debating, do I just run for the door? And I thought, well, I'm an old geezer. These are all young guys. I got to have some experience I can share. So I went up to the podium. I started off with one of my favorite sayings: time you enjoy wasting is not wasted time. And I used to think, when I'd say this, that it meant if I enjoy watching some TV or just relaxing, I shouldn't feel like I'm wasting my time, because I'm regenerating my energy, I'm getting refreshed. And so you can't look at that as wasted time. However, I've come to change my view a little bit. Everyone has a different perspective on what is wasting or wasting time. When I was a kid growing up, I loved sports. I learned to play golf, played softball, basketball, just about anything I could. And my parents were more of the attitude that those activities were a waste of time, that I should spend more time studying, that I should work, I should earn money, all sorts of different things. And so they viewed that as wasting time. Well, the interesting thing about it is that when I got older and got a job, I ended up managing golf courses and then sports complexes. So it turns out that all this time that I was wasting as a youth was actually a learning experience that not only helped me in my future profession, but helped me get the job that I got. So it turns out that while I enjoyed wasting that time, I was not only not wasting time, I was actually being productive. I was pretty shocked at this point that someone hadn't kicked me off the stage and that people actually seemed to be listening to what I had to say. And I was curious, so I said, how many people have met me personally? And thankfully, no one raised their hand. And then I said, how many people here are familiar with my work? And a few people raised their hand. And I said, and what is it that made you interested in my work? And a guy said, well, your videos are interesting and creative. And I thought, not something you usually hear from an old guy, but I'll take it. As I was mainly talking to a bunch of millennials. And by the way, on the hike here, this is actually the San Juan Lookout, rock house built by the Conservation Corps many years ago, back in like the 1930s. And again, these aren't drone shots. I figured from the fact no one knew me and a handful of people were interested in my content that I might as well go on talking. So I'm thinking, what do I say now? And I thought, wow, I just bought this new 360 camera. I don't really know what kind of content this speaker puts out, but I thought, gee, innovative and creative. That's why I got this camera, because I thought it was something interesting. Little did the audience know, I just do my silly little videos on my cell phone. That's why you got that sound, is someone sent me a text message while I'm recording. It's kind of funny. All these people thought I was an expert, so they were listening to every word I had to say. If they knew I was just some old geezer off the street that happened to come in for a free soda, wouldn't they be shocked? I told a few brief stories about swimming with whale sharks in Honduras, looking over Victoria Falls from Devil's Pool, finding anacondas in the Amazon, and of course the giant tortoises in the Galapagos. I didn't know if any of this stuff had anything to do with what the speaker was known for, but I've always said, if you talk about what you're passionate, people will listen. If they can feel that passion, they'll be interested. And if you're interested, you're going to learn something, even if you don't realize it. It's kind of like the comment I said about wasted time. You're not wasting time watching this video, for example, if you found it interesting, if you're learning anything. And that's kind of how I close my speech to these people. I was still shocked that no one jumped up and called me a fraud or acted like, "What the heck are you doing? You don't have a clue." Because quite honestly, I didn't. But in a, I don't know what you'd call it, desire to be somewhat transparent and honest, I said, "You've listened to my talk. I'm hopeful that you've learned something or gained a new passion for what you're doing, maybe just a little motivation that it's been useful to you. And then, if it has, the time here that you spent listening to me hasn't been wasted." And I asked for a show of hands because, quite honestly, I was pretty curious if everyone was interested in what I had to say or if they were just kind of tolerating me like what often happens at conferences. And I said, "How many people have found anything I've said interesting or worthwhile?" And, just about everyone in the audience raised their hand. And I said, "Now, how would you feel if I told you I'm not who you thought I was? You came here to listen to one Jerry, and you got another Jerry." I said, "I just happened to walk into this room to get a free can of soda. And Jill here saw me and welcomed me, and since I'd stolen the name tag off the table, she assumed she knew who I was, and just like all of you, assumed that I was some expert in social media, and I haven't a clue." And I said, "You might feel totally ripped off right now. You might be angry, you might be upset, but there's a lesson to learn. And it's that you never know who you might be able to learn something from. If you just by chance listen a little bit and are willing to learn or hear the experiences of others, everyone's got a story. Everyone's got a tale to tell. Everyone has a passion for something. And even if it's not your passion, you're likely to learn something, and the time you spent hasn't been wasted." So in closing, I guess I'd just like to say, thanks for giving me a chance to talk to you all. I appreciate the fact you're all willing to listen to me. And good luck in whatever career and path you choose. And then I went and sat down and everybody clapped. I don't know if they thought I was lying to them then, if they thought I really was the person who I was represented to be, and that was all a joke, or what was going on. But no one came up to me, or I should say, it's not like anyone said, "What the heck are you doing?" and escorted me out. And I didn't know what to do. I'm just sitting back down in my chair like nothing has happened. And they call the next speaker. The next speaker. And I'm just sitting there. I had gotten away with it. And I even told them the truth, and no one was upset. I think they thought I was joking when I actually told them the truth. Isn't that the way life goes? It's easier sometimes to believe the lie than it is to believe the truth. But I was laughing on the inside, and I didn't know what I should do next. I managed to sneak out after the next speaker was done. I didn't really want to hang around and answer anyone's questions or have them ask me any questions. But I was curious how my message was received. Did anyone ever figure out that I wasn't who they thought I was? You know, what happened to the speaker that was supposed to be there? Why weren't they there? The next day, I decided that I'd Google the conference and see if there were any comments. And there were a bunch. It became obvious to everyone that I wasn't the person who was supposed to speak. And speculation varied all over the place, from the speaker put me up to it as a publicity stunt. People were curious who I really was, and of course, no one knows the answer. But it's time for me to head back home. There's a dust storm brewing, and I don't want to be caught in it. These photos are actually now with my cell phone again. You can see it's also raining to the north. But what an experience. Hope you enjoyed the story and all the experiments with my Insta360 X3 camera. Some of you may also be questioning the validity of this story, and I will neither confirm nor deny it. But hope you have a great day. It's getting dark and I'm almost home. Take care. Hope you enjoyed the video.